Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's webinar. As part of our Customer Success Initiative, today is the 7th in a series of webinars that we aim to deliver on a monthly basis between product training, product updates, tips and tricks to help maximize your use of our platform. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation or have some feedback, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. We'll answer as many as we can at the end. If we can't get to all the questions, we'll answer them separately by email after the webinar. All are welcome. My name is Chris Dunphy. I'm a Customer Success Manager here in Aphix, and I've been with the company for the last 6 years. I previously led the support team here in Aphix and now work in our Customer Success department. I'm joined here today for a segment of the webinar with Graham O'Rourke, who is our General Manager here in Aphix and also one of our company's founders. Hi, Graham.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. No, that's great. Thanks for coming on the webinar. We've had some really positive changes on the company and our product range over the last number of months that some of our customers may have heard about. Could you give us a brief insight into some of these highlights for our customers? I suppose, first of all, with the recent Experlogix merger, your own role has changed. Could you tell us more about that?
Sure. First of all, hello to all of our customers. I'm delighted to be here. It's an exciting time. As you've heard, we've merged with Experlogix, which gives us real global reach. But I guess I'm here today to make sure that everybody understands that we're completely committed to web shop, sales rep, pocket shop, punch out, all of our products under the digital commerce umbrella. So my role, as Chris has said, has changed to be General Manager for UK and Ireland. So for most of our customers, there's no real change there. I'm still heading up the company in this region. And importantly, globally now, I'm also head of product for digital commerce. So that shows you, I think, the importance that we as Experlogix now still put on digital commerce and on the Aphix platform.
And yeah, there's been, I suppose, just to get down into that even more, so there's been a lot of positive change since then too. Can you share some of that, those specifics with us too also?
Yep, sure. We're continuing to invest, as I say, in digital commerce. And I guess from a product point of view, some of our customers will have seen some of this change. So our management interface redesign and improvements, our new app store, which launched earlier this year. And we're continuing to deepen our integration and improvement with ERP, which is really key, obviously, to all of our customers. And then more recently, we've been doing things like updating our language packs for French, German, Dutch, Spanish. We're just about to launch. There'll be a release now out in the next week or so to all customers with integration with Avalara on our app store. So Avalara helps companies who want to go international with sales tax calculations. So for example, you know, a European company who wants to open up a web shop in the USA, now all that hassle of sales tax calculation can be taken care of by Aphix and Avalara. We're just about to launch in North America, so very much taking a much more global view now as a company, which I think will benefit all of our customers. And we're rolling out global sales and in the future, global support. So a lot of really positive change in a short 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, that's all brilliant, Graham, especially the Avalara piece. That's really, really good. I know a lot of customers have been looking to get into something that for the last while, so that's brilliant. We've made a lot of changes to the management interface. How is that going? And are there any more changes planned?
Yeah, I want to thank our customers first for a lot of the direct feedback. That's been really, really good. Most of it's been really positive. We've been enabling our customers as a strategy to be digital creators. So we want you, our customers, to be creating more, to be more independent, to be more agile. And we understand the importance of both product and page and SEO content. So between the redesign of the MI, the management interface, and visual page builder, we've been trying to achieve that. We've also had some feedback on areas where, you know, we were releasing in beta first, so in areas that needed rounded out, and we want to thank everyone for that feedback. And I guess I want to say today here that we've acted on it. I think we've had between 20 and 30 individual pieces of feedback. some have been, minor bugs, some have been suggestions for improvements, some have been new feature suggestions, and every single one of those gets actioned. If you check our release notes, you'll see improvements month on month. More recently, we're doing things like, for example, improving the user experience in the management interface, being clearer in Visual Page Builder about areas which are editable, not editable. We've been improving the App Store search and categorization. So a lot of this feedback has come from customers. And I'm delighted to say we are listening. There's a little bit of a lag, so we'd ask customers to be patient, obviously. But once we get an idea and we see that particularly it's applicable to multiple customers, we do act on it. So we are listening, and we think you're going to see much more improvement in the future.
Brilliant. And yeah, that's all really awesome and positive. I suppose, and lastly, is there anything else happening that our customers may be keen to hear about?
Yeah, I think just to tie to the last piece, first of all, our services team have been doing a great job. And if any of our customers need, for example, template upgrades to take advantage of things like Visual Page Builder, while there obviously is a cost to that, it's also something that companies should probably do on a natural 2 to 3 year cycle. So when customers are ready, they will actually get even more out of the platform by doing that. So they can contact our services team or you or a support team directly, and we'll be able to help them. But I think in general terms, there's 3 really important areas for us. So one is around giving customers control, so templating. So obviously we recognize that we need to kind of lead even more and more in this area. And so we will be launching soon an improved set of templating and themes. So that gives both new and existing customers more options. We'll also be giving you more and more control. So in the later templates and with Visual Page Builder, you can even add your own custom HTML, custom styling, pop in some JavaScript. So it's really opening up that whole area for customers. That's important to us. Secondly is ERP integration and better tools, monitoring of that interface with the ERP and deeper integration. We know that's key, and we're hearing that from you, our customers, and we're acting on that. And then thirdly, the App Store isn't a static thing. It's very much something we're continuing to invest in. So this quarter, we're having Avalara support. We're looking to add more product reviews. We know that's a key area for search as well, and a really nice piece. So we're looking at the various review providers, and we're going to bring that too. And I guess finally, we want to make sure we communicate more widely, and we think this series of webinars has been great for that. But we hope to do a survey before the end of the year as well, just looking for customer feedback, which is vital to us, into our roadmap for next year.
Awesome. That's brilliant, Graham. That's really good to hear. I think our customers would love hearing all that as well. So that's brilliant. I really appreciate that. Every now and again, Graham will join us for future company updates and news by joining the webinars. But for today, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Graham. And now we'll continue with the practical session. Thanks, Graham.
Thanks, Chris.
So, a brief overview of last month's webinar. Last month's webinar was about I've forgotten myself. Oh yes, it was about the sale events, prepping content for sale events such as Black Friday or seasonal events, which we have an update on our Aphix Assist page that has the latest video of that for you to review. So that information is there for anyone to watch who didn't get to join on the initial webinar last time. On today's session, what we will be going through are the different types of product options, the outcome of using each option type, the types of filters applicable from a category menu structure and how to apply images on top of them and why you might do that, and using option filters broadly across the web shop. And the main reason for all of this is so we can demonstrate how to, I suppose, make it easier for your customers to filter down on their products, but also to get to the final proper resultant product that they need to get to, but also for the likes of somebody, depending on the type of catalog structure that you may have if you're a merchant who has very configurable products, using the option filters feature, which is it's a standard feature. It should be enabled by default. If it's not, you can contact myself or the support team to get that enabled. But in general, it would immediately display a set of option filters on your web shop catalog. They just have to exist beforehand. But again, we'll go through that briefly in the process of doing this. The takeaways would be the best way to set up your own options from an SEO perspective. Know how to save time when managing your parent products and creating options. Knowing the pitfalls of data entry and things to avoid. Have knowledge of this filter structure of categories and how aesthetically you can make the content pop and look great. And use option filters to broadly give a mass amount of options to products with very low effort. Again, it just kind of touches on what we briefly mentioned before. Now, we're going to start the practical session. Like I mentioned beforehand, do feel that if you need to ask anything, just pop it in the question box. I won't really see it until the end, but we'll be sure to try and go through as many as we possibly can. One moment, and I'm just going to share my screen. Now, so for the purposes of this, there are some working examples that I've kind of created, and then some that you know I'll talk about, and then there's some that I haven't, but we'll set them up from scratch depending on, you know, there's obviously a time constraint on the webinar, so we want to include as much practical information on this webinar as we possibly can. So I suppose the first thing I want to run through is there are some. I suppose some of these things can get lost over time when our customers are going through a web shop implementation. And depending on whether they're a B2B company or a B2C company, or maybe a combination of both, they may start creating their catalog in one manner and then continue to do that as time goes by. But may not think that maybe this needs to evolve to be something different, or maybe they just think this is the way I was shown, or this is the way I was instructed, or this is the way it's always been that I create my options, or they just simply don't know that you can use option products, or that you can structure them or create them in a different way. So the purposes of this here is just to kind of just kind of clearly show the different ways of doing it and why one would maybe suit one or the other. So what I'm going to do here now, first of all, is run through an option product, show an option product that the simple products do exist already. So as these products are, just go into here, they are computing. Oh, is it the VR? Oh yeah, virtual reality accessories. So we have 5 products here. They are simple products. When I say simple products, they are products that they are unique. There is no, they're not set up as variants. They could be, depending on the practicality of what that might be. I've chosen virtual reality headsets here, but I also could have chosen something like a pair of jeans that's in multiple sizes, in multiple colors, or I could have done the same thing with a pair of shoes, again, with multiple sizes and multiple colors. In this case here, if I was going on to a website, I'm on to this particular area here. Now, if I wanted to simplify this down somewhat, at the moment, if I click on the edit category, option here. So I can see if so if I look up like the HTC Vive Pro, for example, so that product type is a simple product, and it's the same thing for the other ones there. If I go into a product here, I can go into product settings, change that in and of itself to be an option product, and then when that's set to be an option product, I then have the ability to attach child products or option products, variants to that product. In this case here, what we're going to do is we're going to take these simple products that we have already, and then we're going to give it a fake parent. So this is a parent that is not in the ERP system. It's just one that I've created in WebShop that doesn't tie back to an ERP. This is good for somebody who is in a B2B scenario, and I'll explain why now momentarily, why this might be applicable more to B2B than not and not B2C. So in this case here, if I go into products, new, in this case here, I'm going to just create a generic product called VR headsets. I'll give it the same SKU code, there's no harm. Maybe even just one word. I will make this a visible product and set it to be an options product. So that product now is there, but obviously there's no image, there's options attached, but there's none available, and there's no price because there is no price in the ERP. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is, in terms of setting up options, if I was to do this through a nice user interface, I could just go into product settings, click down into that product options editor that we have here now, and then I could start populating this with the product codes and the options that are available to it. I suppose in this case, the product codes that we've seen before, where you know, 1500F, 1500E, 1500G, 1500H, and XDC 196. So we can absolutely do that, which is fine. Or what we can do is, I'm going to add 2, and then I'm going to do the rest using a spreadsheet. So we can just kind of run through the variations of that. Excuse me. So let's say 1500F and 1500E. Doing it this way, the manual way, doesn't automatically make the options visible. You have to manually click this for the option to actually be visible as an option on the front end. This doesn't affect the product if it's a simple product already and its status is visible as a simple product. That doesn't have any bearing there. It's purely as an option. And I'm going to give it an option of color. Navy and blue. So we'll save that. And now we can see that product is displaying there. Now, if we wanted to do that, to finish this off in a using a spreadsheet method, What I could also have done is download the product options spreadsheet here. Making sure that we have a child code and we're setting the parent code in all the cells. So I think we had 5 as far as I can remember. So 1500 FE XDC 196 XDC 196, and then the rest were 1500 G and H. What you can also do, so the color here, that option column is in place already. So I could leave this blank and not give it an option, but you have to give it an option. Otherwise, it's something that's presentable, but there's no way of you selecting an input. So if you left this blank with a value here, then you can't actually choose the option. It might display, but it would display incorrectly and your end users wouldn't actually be able to add it to the cart. So if I look back here, what did we have? Black, and yeah, I suppose that's black as well. So we can see an option for this does exist in the black, right? So if I go, now I'm not going to enter it here, I'm just going to view this so we can see under the color option, we have black. We also have prism black, whatever the difference is there, but let's just go for black for simplicity's sake. If you want to do options this way, that's absolutely fine. The only thing to note is that your spelling has to be exactly in line with what exists already. So if you import the spreadsheet where the option color, sorry, the option type, whether it's color or size or weight or a dimension or whatever the option might be that you want to do here, if it doesn't exist, it will create it as an option for any other product to be used in the future. If it matches one that exists already, that's great, but be careful with like colors, color COLOR, COLOU, or lowercase letters. It needs to be exactly the same as what was there beforehand, or you'll duplicate your options. And while it's something you could tidy up, it's just messy and it will just create havoc sometimes in your catalog. You could have 2 sets of color and colors on a product and then it looks poor and it's not consistent. So let's go with brand as well. So let's see if brand exists. No, brand does not exist. So let's create brand. So we have HTC, Oculus, and Elgato. So brand, HTC, HTC. I think that's how you spell Oculus, OCULUS. Yep. And that's Oculus as well, and Elgato. Okay, so we'll save that spreadsheet. Next, we're going to go to import and export. Import product options. Now this is the first time I'm setting, this is, I already have product options on this product. So I don't want to duplicate product options. I want to override product options. So make sure you hit clear product options. So I'm overriding everything that's on this spreadsheet right now on top of whatever was there beforehand. So now I go choose option spreadsheet, choose the spreadsheet, update the catalog. Just for good measure, it's always good to clear your cache. that'll do that in the background. Now, so we can see that that option, I don't think I set the option on that one. Or maybe it was misspelled. Anyway, and because there wasn't an option set, it had a problem with whatever option was there. It didn't set that as visible, so that's good. There's a nice little fail safe there. So hit save there, and then we have our options. Again, this is great for doing things broadly. If you wanted to create a massive amount of options in one swoop, do it. You can do it this way in this sort of structure. I'm just showing it as, you know, from the point of view of going with one parent product, kind of touching on the fact that this is a fake product, which we'll get to in a moment on the traits of that. But you can see how this could work across a web shop broadly. Now, if we go to, oh yeah, sorry, and we'll actually categorize that product as well. Sorry, put it into the proper category. So product settings, go into product and category editor, and we're in gaming, VR, and accessories. So gaming, VR, accessories. Refresh the page here, and now we can see we have two sets of options. They're displaying in this manner because, so I suppose just I should elaborate a little bit. When you upload a spreadsheet full of options, it creates the option types and it creates the variables, but there are still some things you can do to configure them further. So if I go into products, product options, I can see here on color, as you see here what we've done, there's color and then color, you know, one, and then the one that's set as COLOUR displays as a button, which is what we have here. And then we have the brand, which is the one I just created. By default, that's displaying as a drop-down. And those are the ones I've created. There's no other values. If I wanted it to display as a radio button, I could hit radio button, hit save, and there we go. So there's different ways to kind of suit. There we go. And obviously, again, for further configuration, this would be that if you wanted to, you know, really put out the brand awareness there as far as a button goes, you know, you can add thumbnail images. So as your product is set as a brand, if you leave it by default, it'll just display the option name, similar to the way the colors are displaying here. That's only displaying because under the option of color, we've set those option values here using a hex code for a color that's maybe, you know, not a traditional color. Maybe it's like a pattern, tartan or something that's, or spiral. You could also just choose an image, and that would display in the same way as the colors. So if likewise with the brand option, if you wanted to display the actual brand logo or something of HTC or Oculus, you absolutely could do that as well. And on the thumbnail. In terms of any yeah, so okay, so I suppose just to touch on adding images to these options as well. The majority by default now of these option images will apply because they're set up as simple product variants. If in any case that's not the case, for example, like I have the parent product here, when I refresh the page, there's a feature turned on called product options pre-select. Again, that can be turned on or off. Just contact our support team, we can do that for you. It's latching on to the lowest priced option. So even though my parent, that fake product, doesn't have an image, if I refresh the page, you can see just briefly for half a second, it shows that image. Now, if you wanted to show something that was a bit more specific, like broad, so that you want your customers to start clicking into the option, that's absolutely fine. What you could do is upload a series of images, either one at a time, or if I do it this way by going into get my images. So the first thing we do is we will add these images to a zip file. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. I think the other ones are okay. Yeah. Now, so when they're added to a zip file, and we go into import, export, choose the images file, update the catalog. Oh, it's probably, I think it should be XDC. That's my problem. I inadvertently named the image incorrectly. So it should be XDC rather than XSDC. Anyway, but you can see exactly, it tells you which is where the problem lies, so you can go back and fix it. So if I go back here to the front end of the web shop, nonetheless, I hit refresh. Now you can see here, it actually does add that image now. You can't quite see it because it's not showing it, but you can see now if you wanted, if you add those images in that manner, and we can see here on the back end of the web shop, hit edit the options. Now it's showing those images because I've uploaded them, and that would be to do it in lieu of whatever you're trying to, like the color. Now you can see here, there's still does highlight the color. There's like a small ring around each option, so it does show you the color, but it's just showing you a preview of the option on top of what that color might be. So you have multiple ways of doing this. So I suppose the thing just to talk about really broadly on this is, why would you do it as a fake product? The reason why you would do it as a fake product would be for a B2B customer. Yeah, so for a B2B web shop where pricing is not displayed, it doesn't really, you don't have an SEO kind of impact in the sense that you're never going to show a price and you're never going to show stock really. That's going to be kind of more of a retail element. That's whether it's a gated login or whether it's just a web shop that customers can view but not see pricing until they log in. Obviously, you're not showing a price, and the reason why that is the schemas that we use on the web shop that our developers use we use the recommended ones that Google that Google recommend in terms of getting the site indexed and crawled. So pricing doesn't get picked up in that regard. So you're not going to show a price where you're a B2B web shop. If you're for that schema for Google, it needs to have a product that has a price and has stock to show that it is in stock or has a price when you do a Google search result. The page I'm seeing here, what we're looking at here, is it's like a non-indexable site. It's on our stage and platform environment, so I can't really show that to you in this example, but Essentially, if this was a B2C web shop, and if I was using a fake product that did not have an actual price or a stock, that parent product is what would get picked up by Google, and it would show that the product has no stock and has no price. So you could backtrack and change the parent, and we'll kind of demo that in a moment, and kind of run through something that where it is a real parent. So there's different. That's one of the main reasons why you do that. Now, if you've gone down the road of not kind of setting it up in that sort of manner, that's fine. You can backtrack that and you can amend your parent products if needs be. In this case here, we're going to further run through parts of this by showing as well, seeing as we've set up the option product also. We're going to show now, if I go back to the virtual reality and accessories, you can see just by adding options, I now have a filter on the left-hand side that's created from the options. So now that I have a color set attached to it, it's showing me those colors, and it's also showing me the brands as well. And we'll touch broadly on that afterwards. If it was a case where you wanted to keep these simple products as simple products, even though they are options of this VR headset, that's obviously fine. It all depends on your catalog. So do think about that. It's electronics. They're high end. They're the type of product that you could have them set as an option, but also have them as simple products in themselves. But for the likes of clothing, it's highly unlikely that you're probably going to have 20 simple products of the same pair of shoes in different colors. They'll likely just be set as a product with options. Now that's fine. You could have a page of 20 shoes, and those 20 shoes could all be product with options. And as long as there's options set against them, the customer can still on the left-hand side filter those down to return the product or products that have a black or a blue or whatever the case might be. And when they click into the product in itself, then they can start to filter down the option to get to the correct option that they want to choose for them. Now, in the case of products so we looked at simple products and the products having a parent that's a fake. Now we're going to do products that are not simple. So they are in the ERP, but they don't actually exist on the web shop yet, and a real parent. This could also be applicable to a fake parent or a real parent. So this is applicable for, I suppose, B2C customers primarily, who again, they show their prices, they show their stock. It's a different type of customer demographic. So you would be best off creating the product, at least the parent. The parent product in this case would be a real product. So I'm going to take an example product that I have here that does not yet exist on the web shop. So if I go into products, new, import from ERP, I should say, and paste in a code. This could also be done by spreadsheet if you wanted, of course, as you know. Click add. Now, this product was, so we'll use, I'm going to use this, I'm going to cheat, I'm going to use this same image again. I'm just going to rename the SKU code. Oh no, sure, what am I doing? I already have it there. Never mind. So that is a PSV or 2. set it as visible, and this is a product. I'm going to set it as a product option or a product with options. Now, so it's a product with options. It doesn't have a price. Well, it has a price, but it's a product with options. So it's displaying an option, but there's no option set. So under product settings, go to product with options editor. Again, do it by spreadsheet if you want. In this case, I'm just going to use the editor here because it's open. Now I'm going to add itself as an option. In this case, the option would be, let me see. Let me see. So I'll hit save. Yeah, so this is the most simplistic method. It's an option of itself in the sense that you have a product here. It is a simple product. It doesn't necessarily have to have an option added because as yet there's no other option codes. There's no product option codes applied. So just leaving it by itself is fine. If you added the second variation, I have another product code here. The same. CT net. So that product there, that is not available in the web shop. It was not a simple product. It was in the ERP, all right. Now, if I was to click on import from ERP, now it shows that it is imported and visible, but it's not really. It's the status is imported because it's set as an option. If I just clicked into the normal product catalog and clicked for it, I won't find it. I'd find the other one because I have created that a few moments ago. There, that's the one that I created just a few moments ago. So I suppose what I'm saying is if you have products that are, if you had loads of products in the ERP system, don't worry about setting them up as individual simple products beforehand. Just create your parent, whether that one product is a fake product or, again, from a B2C perspective, that one product is an actual product. Set that one up as a parent. And then just apply all the other option products either in a spreadsheet or in the management interface in the product options section as the options, and then they will automatically attach as product options. You still have to go through the process of adding the option types of like height, weight, size, whatever the case might be. Now, the reason why it's showing like this is because this is what I mentioned earlier on, I haven't set the option variables, so you still have to do that. So in this case, you still have to put in the option of color. The color is, blue, or the color is cream, or whatever the case might be. Once the option or some sort of option is set, then you have the option to be chosen. And then as far as, again, when it comes to product images, that's absolutely fine. you can go back into the product option section, sorry, the product section, import, export. And then there we go. I suppose the parent product, you can be smart with what you name in terms of name convention, because it might cover, it is an option, but it's also applicable to multiple other products as well. So, you know, you might just have to be, excuse me, you may just have to be kind of cautious in the sense of what you're naming those products, the parent product, so that it you know, conveys and covers a lot of product types. So I suppose the broad takeaway would be that if you are in a B2B world with no retail, where price and stock are not in the public domain, the easiest way of managing the catalog would be to create a fake parent. Don't bother creating the options as simple products first, unless you feel they have a place on there also. So again, if you want them to be simple products as well as being options, that's fine. Just consider the type of products that you're selling. Then just set the option codes against the parent in an upload, apply your option variables, etc. If it's a retail scenario, again, the former still applies as if you want the options as standalone products, but it's best to make a parent one of the options. The lowest price one is probably the best option. This means that on search engines, when the web shop is getting indexed, it will pick up on the parent product. Like in this case here, the PlayStation was like, this one here was actually set as the parent. That's probably the wrong thing to do, because that's going to be picked up by Google eventually at 650 euros, whereas maybe you wanted the lowest price one. So somebody sees VR headsets, you know, again, this is called PSVR2. Maybe it should have been called, maybe this one here, this one should have been set as the parent, the cheaper one, and then that one could have been just called VR headset. And then that VR headset is broad, it's generic, it's 20 euros. So that's what gets picked up by Google. That's what gets pre-selected first. So again, we can see what kind of not to do as opposed to what to do. Hopefully that makes sense. So I suppose next what we're going to navigate on it, or touch on, is using, so we've looked up product options, filter, the filters that can display. We've just touched lightly on that. We're going to look up category filters. So using category filters will greatly increase the way your catalog can be narrowed down once being filtered to get to the right product type. We'll demo a practical way of adding filters to beer, changing the category type currently in place, adding to it, and then adding in some images that could make the filtering look really good. But again, it depends on the product type. Not every filter needs like an image applied to it, and in some cases it could be kind of detrimental to it. So in this case, I'm going to navigate to our beverages page. So here we have two beers, and they're in a category of two categories, one of alcoholic drinks under beverages and under brand. So if I click on edit category, I suppose first of all, let's cover why they're already in this filter option here. So a really smart thing to do is for a web shop who, a customer, for a merchant who maybe categorizes products by brand also, that's really good, because it gives some really good options here. So if I go into beverages, alcoholic drinks, beer and ale, and then just quickly throw your eye over, was it brand or brands? Let's close this. Brand, okay. So again, just getting that naming convention, okay. And I should have twigged that, sure. It's showing me the product count there, silly me. Yeah, so I'll expand on brand. So the great thing about having a brand catalog or a brand set as a filter in the first place is if you create the category brand, put all brands in that, and then also put all products in their respective brands. Once you set the main brand category in actions in more, set it as to display as a filter, which we're doing here. It means that any category that's nested underneath the brand category, Hollows and Fentimans, Hunter's Brewery, and the Garlic Farm, anything at all, and those have products in them. So they only have one product each in those categories, and those products are, those products are the two beers that we see there. So that's just a good way and a good practice to always use a brand category in general. It's just practical because everything has a brand. Whether something has, not every product has a particular filter type. You have to look at the specific product of what's the alcohol content, what's the beer type, what's the, where is it sourced, etc. But everything has a brand, so that's good to just consistently have it on no matter what the product is. In terms of everything else, in terms of how you create that, I'm going to go to beverages and into beer and ale. Now under beer and ale, I've created these earlier on, ginger beer and honey beer. These are two nested categories underneath beer and ale. The reason why I did that was I was looking for some sort of differentiator to see how could I differentiate these beers any more than they are. Because I'm on this page, it's beer. It's quite clear that it's beer. That's fair enough. Can't go down anymore because it is just beer. Now, if I see these beers here, I can go into each respective category if I wanted, but then it's more clicks, it's more page loading time. It takes away from the whole kind of process of what filtering should be. So the end filter that I have here, you leave as it is. That displays as a category. But if I go into beer and ale, the parent just before it, I'm going to edit, set that to display as a filter. Now we can see we have a filter. So I'm on the same page. That's easy to use. One quick moment. No, sorry, I was just getting it onto the mobile view. And again, for mobile, it's still there as well. So the way we get the filters in for mobile is when you're on the mobile page, click on the search bar, and we'll see our filters. Yeah. So in terms of maybe creating more filters and then adding some sort of imagery to it, let's look at let's look at creating something else. So let's look at these beers and see what could be different on them. So I suppose the first thing we could say is, we could say on this beer would be, we've already looked at the fact that one is ginger and one is honey. Let's say the contents, one is 330 milliliters, one's 500. So what you would do is go back into categories, and then under categories go new. And then we're just going to call this 330 milliliter. The parent we're going to give it is under beer and ale, ginger beer. Or rather, say even just under beer and ale, put it alongside it. Hit save. Have another one, 500 milliliter. So that by default is displaying as a category, but it doesn't matter because it's the parent above it, the beer and ale. That's what's set to display as a filter. So any category nested within that will display as a filter type. So if I go back into categories, so I can see that there's other filters of 330, 500. So now if I want to, excuse me, now I need to put those products into those categories. So if I go back in, this could be done by a spreadsheet, of course, but the easiest way of doing it on a per product basis would be to go to each product, into product settings, product and category editor, and beverages, alcoholic, beer and ale, and the hunters was the 500. There we go. This one here, product settings, again, category editor. So using the tree view, just as a different alternative, we go into beverages, alcoholic drinks, beer and ale, 330. And there we go. So now I can have the filter of this or this. And obviously this is me doing it on 2 products. If you had a lot more products, the filtering might make more sense in terms of having a broader range of data. And then in terms of maybe just getting something to look the part, you can't really do anything here in terms of the imagery, at least not that I can think of. Maybe somebody else more creative than me could. But for the likes of a brand, it's pretty easy to do. If you go into the category in question, brand, and let's go into hunters and hollows. Then in media, choose the thumbnail. I think that was hollows, isn't it? Yeah, hollows. And the cache is getting cleared. There we go. So, looks quite nice. Again, depending on what brands you have, it may make sense, it may not make sense. That's kind of down to you. But when it comes to color or product type or something, it may make it look just really, really kind of eye-popping. And then it's, like again, if we're looking at it from the mobile perspective, looking at it from the mobile perspective, it just looks really, really well. Now, I suppose broadly, one of the things we wanted to discuss here at the end was using the option filters broadly across the web shop. These were category filters, and they're very specific on products that are contained within those categories. But the thing I just wanted to get across really was, if we take something like how good it is to use options as filters, it is dependent on your catalog. If you broadly use simple products where there is one unique, it's a unique product and there's no variations of that, then obviously this probably doesn't apply to you. But if it's a catalog where you have very configurable things, whether it's clothing, footwear, electronics, machinery, something where it's like you're trying to kind of configure it. The laptop has the blue body with the 30 gigabytes of RAM with the processor, and you're configuring all these different things to get to a final variation. Today on the virtual reality, I created the feature just had to be enabled. I created some options, and then all those options are displaying now, in the same way that if I go into computing and then over to laptops, it's much the same thing. There are some of these products have options, some of them are, have category filters. So some of these are category filters and some of them are option filters. You wouldn't know, but they all display side by side in the same way. But if I go down to, say, the 16 gig one here, it's displaying me the two results where it knows that it has 16 gigabytes of memory. And that's just because the option exists. So that would be broad across the web shop, in the same way that, if you have a blue shoe and blue jeans and a blue laptop, well, that option, no matter what category you're on, you're looking for the product type, but it will show the option because it's applicable to that product. So it makes your life much easier in terms of managing that content. Now, I know we've gone a little bit over, but we definitely have time for some questions. 1 second. Now, so we'll go ahead and take some time for questions. Just a reminder, please be sure to type the questions into the box in your control panel. Let me see what we have. Sorry, I'm just pulling them up now. Apologies for the delay. Not a question. Oh, we got one from Samantha. Oh, Samarth. Not a question, but thanks. That's really helpful. Thanks very much, Samarth. That's brilliant. This one's from Nathan. Would this also clear any options not on the sheet? That's a good question. So I think you're referring when I'm going to import it, it's only specific to the options on the sheet in itself. So if you import a spreadsheet, and if that product, like say you were just working off of a master spreadsheet, so every single product option is on that spreadsheet for every product and every option. Presumably, you're going to export out all the options that are there to begin with. So I'll just quickly kind of show that. So just to kind of recap, if I go into product options, export, oh, sorry, wrong area, sorry, beg your pardon. Products, import, export, and then in the import product options section, there's a button called export all. So if you exported all that, so this is your master spreadsheet. This is everything on the web shop that has a product or that has a product option set against it. So here's all the option types that are against a product. It's not necessarily all the options that exist, it's just the ones that are actually being used and all the variations and variables. So if you were working off of this master spreadsheet and you just added to it or took from it, you would then save it, re-import it, but then so that you don't duplicate anything, you would be very, very careful to make sure you clear those product options so that you're not doubling up on what you currently have. If you're using a spreadsheet where it's a smaller subset of data, where you're adding to a product that already has options, so you're not overriding it, then that would be no. So then you'd have the spreadsheet with a smaller subset of data. You're uploading it, and once you're specifying the parent code and the child code and the option types and the variables, you're just going to add on to what's already on the web shop. You don't need to specify it on the spreadsheet. If you did specify what's already in the web shop and the spreadsheet, then it would add it just adds everything on that spreadsheet. So it would add whatever's on that spreadsheet to what already is on the is on your option set. So then you'd have double the options. Hopefully that makes sense. Can you choose the shape of an option? In this example, color has a round shape, brand has a square shape. Is that a setting you can change per option? It's a good question. That's from Aicha. I suppose that is a good question. Yeah, it's they generally just default to circular based off of like the standard styling on the web shop. Now there could be some services worked on there if you wanted to have options displayed in different manners or shapes. I suppose the only thing I could suggest that might get around it would be, you could display them in a drop down in like as I showed before, the drop down and sorry, the drop down or the button, but then obviously on the drop down, if you specify a color, it does show it in like a square format. So if we kind of go back here to was the VR, I think. Yeah, so if I click on product options, and then color, as in with an OUR. Now it's currently set as buttons, but if I set it to be a drop down, it would display in that manner. So it shows like a small kind of square, sort of in that manner. You know, it's not really, you'd have to get rid of the option images as well, because it doesn't really kind of work in that way. They'd only work from the circular button perspective. So I suppose to answer the question, really, to be able to do it aesthetically, or from what you're asking, you could probably get some services work done on that. But as a standard, as an out of the box thing, they just display in a circular way. And this one's from Aicha again. When are the filters visible? Only when you select the specific. When are the filters visible? Only when you select the specific category, or is it visible on all product categories? So if you're referring to the option type, so the option type, if you're setting an option as a filter, blue color blue, if that option is invisible, well, that option will be invisible. But if blue in and of itself is set as an option of multiple other products, then that option type will be available elsewhere. But on that category page specific to that product, then that filter will not display, because that option is invisible. Okay, that's great. I think that's it. Let me see. Perfect. Yeah, that's okay. That's it, folks. Great. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. The customer success team will be bringing more content and some training refreshers, new product features in these webinars at least once a month for the foreseeable future. So stay tuned for more content. As mentioned, we'll be replying back to any additional comments or questions directly after that we've not answered. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.